Good evening. Hello. We're back. It's all for United. And I don't know about you lot. I'm still not over Man United 4, Liverpool 3. That has been fueling me now for absolute days upon days. And even yesterday, as I was watching the United women getting their backsides handed to them as the Etihad, still couldn't quite dampen my spirit thanks to that. So we've got that to keep going with. We're not going to be spending our life talking about it, although I am going to ask you with your introductions as we go through this rather magnificent panel that we have assembled here. If you're still feeling the buzz, it's international break, are you still surfing on the high that Manchester United have served up for us? Danny B, what say you, sir?
I must have watched Ahmad's goal at least 1,000 times now. Like, I'm definitely past triple figures. I'm definitely in quadruples. Multiple commentaries, foreign commentaries, every which angle you can find. I've probably watched it that many times. So, in answer to your question, absolutely yes.
Any particular language that the commentary sounds best in?
I think it was the Brazilian one. The ones where they just say "goal" like that. It's always the best one.
Lovely. Well, there we go then. We'll all be searching out a Brazilian version now. And why not? Why not indeed? Although very, very dangerous to bring up Brazil at this point in time. But I'm sure we'll come back to them. Anywho. Down there we've got Andrew Wall, where apparently the entirety of Stourbridge is watching. So mind your P's and Q's, Mr. Wall. You still buoyed by that rather magnificent result? How's life for the Wall?
Yeah, I was on a high for so many days. Like Dan, I've watched Ahmad's goals so many times. I mean, being in the stadium and when Ahmad broke, got the ball off at Harvey Elliott and then Garnacho was running. I was like, this is it. This is the moment. And then when Garnacho passed it to Diallo and then he hit it across the, I was like, suddenly for me, everything just slowed down and then suddenly eruption in the stadium. It was like, I think somebody said it's one of those games you wait for once in a lifetime for, and you just couldn't believe what had happened in that game. Or just like, I'm just saying about commentary wise, hearing that goal back. I think the best one for me was Dan Stringwater. He does BBC Radio Manchester. It was like you could just see when we scored. It was like the fan in him just came out as well. Just like we just won that game, and I'm just like, yeah, it was just. Yeah, it's one of the best games ever. It was everything and more. And sort of going to give Liverpool their credit; they played their part in the game as well. So, but it's nice that we came out on the other side because would have been, well and truly disappointed if they'd nicked the goal at the end because our goal came from their corner. So, but yeah, I'm going to be living off that for many years to come. There's going to be, stories being told about that game for years and years.
Oh, absolutely. It'll be handed down. And you're quite right. Every fish shop needs a sausage to batter. And Liverpool were indeed that sausage, which was rather wonderful. Yes, NT. It's not a bad result at all. Just probably don't search it up on Sky Sports. I'm not sure they agree with you. But there we go. Danny Field. Where have you been, mate? It's been like ages and ages and ages. We haven't seen you for such a long time. I was genuinely starting to worry for your safety. We were going to call the police.
Working, unfortunately.
9 till 5? What a way to make a living.
I wish it was 9 till 5. Unfortunately working. Yeah. I was actually sat at work in the office watching the football. Did not get a lot of work done, if I'm honest. Scared a few people when the Ahmad goal went in. Just absolute scenes. And oddly enough, not seen my brother since. It's really strange, isn't it? It's been fantastic. He messaged me a couple of times this weekend, trying to pretend that it had not happened, but he definitely did. I remember it. It was amazing. It was just absolutely amazing. Everything about it. I was obviously annoyed to be at work. That cleared the annoyance pretty much straight away. It was a very long shift. I think it is for like 14 hours that day. It was madness. I just don't know where it came from. In the 86th minute of that game, I was sat there going, we're going to be kicking ourselves. We've missed too many chances. We've had chances to get back into it. What's going off? And then suddenly, But old Anthony's got a right peg. And who knew? I've watched that goal just as many times as Ahmad's, to be honest with you, because it's just absolute madness. Where's that come from? He's got to be working on something in
He said
training.
he's been working on it. He said he's been working on it in training.
Buzzing.
And you could tell how much that meant to him as well, to Anthony, because the celebration, I was just like, I know we could have won it in normal time with Rashford, but then I think I heard afterwards it was offside. Well, that's what I thought I heard. But so when Rashford went clear, I was like, oh, we're going to win it now. And I thought the roof was just about to blow off, and I was like, but then
I think. Yeah, I was just going to say, I think Anthony's goal caught Liverpool off guard, didn't it? Like, you could tell they were showing him onto his right foot because they know he's not going to use it. Like, they were like,
I'll be honest, Dan.
Anthony's goal caught the world.
Yeah,
off guard.
Well, yeah.
Everybody sat in Old Trafford went, what the?
Yeah, we were all just. When Rashford, the miss at the end, I turned to somebody to the right of me and said, well, that's his second chance miss. I said, maybe third time lucky, and then in extra time, his third chance, he buried it. So I was like, yeah,
I'm just waiting for the right foot screamer. When that happens, Andrew, I think the world will just go absolutely doolally. Dan, any defence to be made here, sir?
It's not just the brother, unfortunately. It's 95% of the family. I can't disown them all.
My dad's a Liverpool fan, so I was like,
yeah,
I said to him, are you speaking to me? And I was like, he went, yeah.
It's been a nightmare for the last 10 years.
Yeah, he just said, questioning Klopp substitutions and everything else, saying, well, we should have took our chances. I was like, I questioned some of the things Ten Hag was doing during the game. I was like, but in the end, we had to throw caution to the wind, and we saw the best out of United.
I know. Imagine seeing the best out of United when Anthony's playing at left back.
Yeah.
I said I named you, Dan, on Twitter. I named you. I said I wrote on Twitter saying you wanted Anthony at left back. There you go.
The best thing about that is there's a little clip going around when Anthony's been told to go to left back, and even he's going, "What the hell is going on here?" Because he hasn't got he's not happy about going there. So he's obviously not.
I imagine what he's saying is, look, the fat lad with a beard at Waffle United, he thinks this is a bad idea. The world thinks this is a bad idea. Why are you doing this?
No idea.
I was going to say, by the end of the game, it was like Bruno and Christian Eriksen, they were the centre backs. Harry Maguire was so far forward. It was like, I thought, God, if Liverpool do break on us, we're in a lot of trouble. But literally, we just kept them at bay. Yeah.
Well, John at the Glass Coast. This is John Foster, by the way, who was a regular on this channel until he effectively disowned us and went elsewhere. But apparently Aston Villa women and Arsenal women are drawing. So there you go. Apparently they're going to keep us up to date with all of the joys of that particular game there. Can Carla Ward's Barmy Army get rid of Jonas Iderval and basically do United a favour, because we could really do with Villa winning that one. If we're going to have any hopes whatsoever of the top three. Most of your family, sorry to hear that, Dan. My thoughts are with you in these troubling times. To be honest, all I heard when he said that was, if I did that, I would have no Christmas presents. That's basically what I heard. So that's the only reason. And to be fair, I think it's a good one. So there we go. Right, onto the thumbnail, boys and girls. It's called The Weekend Waffle, which I've got to be honest, I think should work just about well, because we're literally just going to waffle on about a few subjects. It's not a huge deluge of possible topics that we could have gone through. So I've been really raking through the old memory banks, trying to see what might be worthy of discussion. And there was a few stories that have come out. The first one that I wanted to throw out was the Bruno Fernandes story. So the fact that obviously it's the international break, so a lot of our story is going to be based with an international flavour. Obviously, he was meant to be off with Portugal, and they sent him back, which was quite interesting. And United basically said, "Don't come here, mate. You've got the whole international break off. Fill your boots." But not literally, obviously, because it's a week off. So he's going to get some time off. Now, I don't know about you lot, but I feel like this could really benefit us in our charge towards the end, because Bruno's biggest ability, the world has always said, is his availability. The fact that he is just there playing every single game. arrested Bruno Fernandes at the end of a international break, I feel could be just beautiful. We could get a fully spot on Bruno Fernandes, the one that we know is capable of dictating play and scoring goals. And I just wondered if you agree with that, if you think maybe actually he'll lose a bit of momentum. Just your general thoughts on Sir Bruno Fernandes. So, Dan, B, he gets lots of criticism, he gets lots of praise. He's a Marmite character, it appears, amongst fans. Where does Bruno Fernandes stand with you, and how important could a rest be for him?
I literally barely heard a word you said there, Barry. Like it went like robotic. Like you were talking in slow motion, but I know it was about Bruno Fernandes. So
I mean, that's was that the same for all of you?
I don't know. Was it just me? Just me.
No,
you hear me,
I
Andrew?
heard everything. Yeah.
I heard you clearly.
It's obviously just me. It's all right.
Just you, Dan,
Yeah, no, I'm
it's
happy
the wrong
that
way,
he's
mate. I'm
rested.
really pleased about that because I thought I was suffering from conoritis then. And that honestly, if he's watching, I will have all manner of screenshots. Basically, Bruno Fernandes, rest, good or bad?
Very good. I think he's, the one thing he does is just runs his socks off. He must be absolutely exhausted. I think a 2-week break will do him a world of good. And, arrested Bruno Fernandes, we might see more, in terms of the old Bruno Fernandes as well. I know we always get the effort. We always get the, he'll never stop running. He was playing centre half at the end of the game against Liverpool. We'll always get that from him, but we might get, more goals, more assists. Might see more of the old Bruno from a couple of years ago. I just think a bit of rest will do him the world of good. And I don't know about anybody else, but for me, the international break, all I ever do is sit and hope that no United players get injured anyways, because I really don't care about international breaks. So I just sit there and think, I hope no one gets injured. So the fact that I knew Bruno got sent back, I was absolutely chuffed with that.
I think it seems reasonably fair. Andrew, is this kind of where you would go with it? We all know. I mean, as Phillips put here, he came to United, he was brilliant. He scored, he assisted a lot of goals, always works hard. Obviously, a rest is going to do him the world of good, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And I just think it's probably the news us United fans wanted to hear from the Portugal national squad as well. So, I mean, particularly scored his 20th goal in against Sweden. So, and then and I say Portugal now, what a special player he is. And thankfully, they see there's nothing to gain for him playing in the friendly against Slovenia on Tuesday night. So, and Roberto Martinez said play no part in the match, and so they've got more players coming in. And I think, including Bruno, several players are going home. So, I say for Bruno, he rarely misses any games. So, this is a valuable rest for him. So, the only game he's missed this season for us was away at Liverpool, and that was due to suspension. So, I mean, like the win over Sweden, played the whole 90 minutes, scored 1 goal, provided 1 assist. So, yeah, glad he's coming home and getting the rest. And obviously, we got Brentford away on Saturday as well. So, this was a fixture we lost 4-0 last season, and a lot's changed since then. It's going to be a tough game anyway on Saturday night, but I think it's good that Bruno's getting this extra rest and extra time at home, with his family, and a bit of a breathe as well. So, I mean, with Bruno being club captain, he's being expected to start every single one of those games. So it's great to hear that he's getting that rest. And also, if he'd stayed and played against that friendly against Slovenia, there's always a risk him getting injured, and then we're out. We could have potentially been out with him for the rest of the season. So it's the news I think we all wanted to hear. Bruno gets a rest finally.
It is good. It is very good that he gets the rest at last. Dan, Bruno's had a lot to say over the last few days. And obviously he's mentioned the fact about wanting to be part of a project and being pleased with how the owners have come in and the sort of the vision they've set to the players and everybody. There's lots of questioning whether or not Bruno is the man to captain Manchester United, but you can't fault, I don't think, his effort, his desire, and his will to win. What do you make of the Bruno Fernandes story so far, and what do you think of this moment in time, the ability to have a rest? Is this the key to United putting some form of battle in for top four in an FA Cup this season?
Possibly. It's bonus for Fernandes, if anything. I mean, the fact that he played 90 minutes and scored and assisted against Sweden he was the best player on the pitch as well, to be fair. We need him to have a rest hugely, to be fair. He's one of those players that seems to just play no matter what. The reason I don't doubt him being captain is simply because you see Marcus Rashford miss against Liverpool, even though he was offside, even though a lot of social media seems to have missed that. Literally, the whistle goes, and the first player over to him is Fernandes, arm on the shoulder. We go again, and that's what a captain does. Seen a comment there from Philip about the refs. It's hard to disagree in the terms of, yeah, he does he's a bit over the top with referees, etc. But this isn't just a Bruno thing. This is 99% of Premier League footballers, but Bruno gets called out for it a lot more than some others. I actually saw a tweet earlier where Gary Neville dives on the floor against Steve McManaman. He then gets up, has a go at Steve McManaman. He then headbutts Steve McManaman, or because he didn't get his penalty. Then he's like going off at the ref. All players have done this since the dawn of time, but Bruno's a very easy target. I just think he's got everything we need at the minute. This rest hopefully sees him just relax a little bit, because the amount of distance this guy covers on a football pitch is incredible, really. What's nice to see is a weird one, this, but it's a little bit of a tangent, is an international manager using the friendlies for what they're actually supposed to be used for. So he knows his first team. He played his first team against Sweden. He's now going to send probably 6 or 7 of them away and use the squad players to see, right, are you good enough to be at international level, or are you not good enough to be at international level? And I think that's a benefit for Fernandes, that he now gets these 2 weeks off. It's just, I don't think he's one of them footballers that needs to continuously play all the time either to stay injury-free. He just needs this break. And it's really, really good that Man United have seen that as well and gone, hands up, we don't just off you pop, we don't need you back yet. Go and enjoy some time with your family. Go and see some relatives in Portugal, wherever you want to go. Have a bit of Bruno Fernandes time. Relax. He's one of the better players in the Premier League. I think he suffers from something that a lot of Man United players are suffering from in the last 5 years, and that is he's a much better player than people will readily admit, because Man United aren't in the place where they should be. If Bruno Fernandes played for Liverpool or Manchester City, you would be talking about one of the top 3 or 5 players in the world, without a doubt, if he was in a different shirt. But because he's in a Man United shirt, it's not cool to say that. So James Maddison's better than he is. It's one of those things. But yeah, I'm really glad for it. I love Bruno Fernandes. I'm hoping he's going to be here for at least the next 4 years, if not longer. He's formidable, is the word for Man United, and we need him to stay.
Seems pretty much aligned with what I would think too. We're going to go for the one-word answer. I'm going to see if we get on with this. It's not a question we ask very often, but it's a waffle, so we're going to go for it. Should Bruno Fernandes be the Manchester United captain? Is question 1, yes or no? And if you say no, you have to tell me who would be a better captain than Bruno. And you're not allowed to give any context, because, like, why should you be allowed to defend that decision? I don't know. Let's see. So we're going to go back the other way around, because it's evil. Andrew and Danny B didn't know we were going to do that. And I feel like Danfield already knows his answer. So what say you, Fieldy?
Yes.
That was the easy way out, really, wasn't it? Andrew?
Yes.
Ooh. Danny B?
Yes.
Oh, we did that through gritted teeth. I don't know if I can believe that.
I'm not allowed any other answer. I'm not allowed to say anything else. So yes.
See, because it's genuinely though, right? And if we did open it up just slightly, feels like one of those that we all think he's not necessarily the person you would choose to be a captain in general, but of the players that we've actually got, 100% the best pick. Is that kind of where you all are?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
I was pleased you were with that, Andrew, because the other two were like this, and you were just straight in, no movement. Yes, very good, very regal, Andrew. I love it indeed. Bradley Walsh made a joke last night on Gladiators. They were talking about the wall, and he was saying to his son, it's got a name. I know the guy who made it. He said it's called Adrian's wall, obviously, and his kid didn't understand it. And when he made that joke, all I could think of was you, Andrew, because that's the real person who owned the wall, isn't it? It was Andrew Wall. So I'm with you on that. Okay. The news has just come out. I don't know how much you know of it, but literally it's just popped up on my phone. We've got another injury, chaps. Harry Maguire played 67 minutes for England, was replaced by Lewis Dunk. And just for a change, one of our defenders isn't very well. So the injuries are getting a bit stupid at the moment, aren't they? Is anyone... I've got a specific question on this, really, because it's not really a question, but it is a bit crap in it that we keep having these international breaks and these matches, and our players they're just not standing up to it this year. It's a ridiculous number of injuries, but for him in particular, and for us with Martinez out and all of that jazz, it's not really where we want to be, is it, chaps? Anyone can.
I'll go. This is what I was saying about Martinez. This is the frustration for the internationals for me. As England manager, your first 11 already. So why are you taking some of these players to play Brazil in a friendly and Belgium in a friendly? It makes zero sense. And it must be frustrating for the likes of Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, us. It doesn't make much sense for these players to be going. What you should be using these friendlies for is, I tweeted it yesterday. We had a centre-back at right-back and a centre-back at left-back yesterday against Brazil. What is the point? What is the point in that? It makes no sense. And he's got the entire of the English player pool to pick from, and we've still somehow ended up with centre-backs at right and left-back. And it makes it even harder to watch because the team's not picked on form anyway, which is why Jordan Henderson's still in it and why other certain players have only just fell out of it, like Phillips. And you could argue Maguire got picked for a 6-month period the other year that he shouldn't have been picked for. I just find it really frustrating that the international managers aren't understanding that actually, if this player's fit, he's definitely going to the Euros anyway. So why do I keep picking him for meaningless friendlies? Take him to the competition stuff. And even if it's the really close run up to the Euros, fair enough. But there's absolutely no need for these top players to be at these stupid friendlies, to be honest with you. And it's not just a Man United thing. That is everything. You look at the players that are pulling out, and let's be honest, players that probably already planned to pull out after the first game anyway. And I genuinely would not be shocked, under Ferguson in particular, if he would have said to players, you go play 45 minutes and then you start hobbling because you're coming back after that 45 minutes with a hamstring injury, which you're then going to be fine for the next game. So it's pointless for the players. It's pointless for the managers. Why not give some other people caps that maybe a left back out of absolutely nowhere that we've been watching might do all right?
Yeah, I was listening to Gary Neville on his podcast, and he was saying about when I think Euro 2000 was coming around, and he was saying about him, Scholes, Phil Neville, Beckham. They all got called up to these friendlies with Kevin Keegan, and Ferguson rang them all up and just said, "No, you're not going. You're not going." So they all pulled out, and the only one that went was Phil Neville. Because he knew he wasn't going to play anyway, so it didn't matter.
I was just going to say, was he there when he didn't get the call? Or did he get the one that went, Phil, your boots,
he was the only one that went.
You go play.
Yeah, he was the only one that went.
Well, he's a boy, that Phil. He's a boy. But again, I don't know would you get away with that nowadays? I mean, it's 24 years later. If a manager genuinely said to him, I don't want you going to the friendlies, would the players basically give it the old...
Did you see?
What to do?
Gary Neville's, well, I don't know what the show's called, but it's like a podcast on Sky, Stick to Football or something like that. He literally said Saka will pull out, Foden will pull out, and somebody else might pull out. And Saka pulled out on the day he said it, and there's rumours that Foden might not play in the next game, so might leave anyway. And it's just, I think they get away with it in a different way now. Whereas Ferguson would ring up and say no, they probably now, like the medical team might say, actually, you've got a bit of an injury. And that's the way they get around it. But you see it all the time.
Yeah, but I was just about to say, about Ben White.
Well, I agree
Ben
with
White
you.
pulled out and said he doesn't want to be.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah, he said, "Don't pick me. I don't want to be in contention." And then he's been getting absolute pelters for it. And you think, well, you know, if Southgate's not going to play him, why would you go to these pointless friendlies?
Thing is, though, is he going to get picked again now? Like ever? Has he put himself?
Probably not under
by Southgate. No.
Yeah.
You don't want to completely throw your international career in the bin. Well, apparently Ben White did want to do that, which is, you know, listen, we've got a girl at United, Leah Galton. She's consistently said, "I don't want to play for England." It's completely up to their own reasoning for that. But I feel like Ben White's is a little bit more because he's just got a bit of an axe to grind, maybe, with the way the situation is. But I don't care. He's an Arsenal player. I couldn't care less, really, to be honest with you. Genuinely, I care less about Arsenal than I do about England. So there we go. Andrew, anything you'd like to add on the Harry Maguire /injury saga?
I think it's not been when he was substituted. I just then go and hearing right now he's going for a scan. I mean, the news will leave us and Eric Ten Hag a bit anxious, you know, especially with the fixtures we've got coming up, starting with Brentford on Saturday. But I think it was his first start since the 24th of Feb. So he didn't even get a full 90 minutes. So hopefully it's not too serious. Well, they're making out it's not too serious, but you know his absence, you know, further adds to our defensive woes which we've had all season. So we're still missing the likes of Luke Shaw, Martinez, Malacia as well. So the same. Maguire only recently returned himself from a groin injury that, you know, sidelined him for like 5 games over Christmas as well. So it's like, yeah, just when he wasn't playing, you could certainly notice the difference. And like when him and Martinez had got back, I thought, oh, this is the partnership I wanted to see. Martinez's first game back, you know, proper game back, he got injured, and now Maguire's potentially injured. So I've got my fingers crossed. Maguire is it's maybe only a small little niggle, and he will recover for it in time for Brentford, because we definitely need all the players back over the you know, with the business end of the season now upon us.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I brought it up a second ago, NT, saying United players have had a history of being abused by England fans. Part of the reason I don't support England in international tournaments, obviously just local ones instead then. Beckham, Philip Neville, I get it. I know what I just said. Rooney, Sancho, and Rashford. And you know what? You're right. Rashford got absolute pelters for missing a penalty. Beckham's was an interesting one. He got sent off. I can understand people being annoyed about that, but they took that ridiculously far, with effigies hanging off of shop windows and all sorts. I mean, it's the same people that are getting like ridiculously upset over a flag on a shirt as well, one would imagine. But there we go. Which, by the way, I do understand a little bit of, but the world has gone into meltdown over a bit of fabric, and I just can't quite fathom it at this moment in time. But there we are. Everybody has their opinions, and this, I agree, Stevie Bruce not getting any caps was one of the most bizarre things ever, for sure. There was a debut, obviously, on that same game for possibly the greatest midfielder in the history of the world, which is where we seem to be going with this guy. We started very small. We tried not to put too much pressure on him, but he comes in, and within minutes, he's done a little Cruyff turn, turned around a Brazilian player, if you please. He looked like he had the wrong colour shirt on. Like, he should have been wearing the yellow one because they're the ones that come in with all the flair and all of that sort of stuff. And he came in, and honestly, I think the Brazilian literally went, and I'm very poor at Brazilian, but I'm sure he said something along the lines of, "Whoa, what the was that?" Because it's not expected, and he's just unreal. Andrew, you've seen him live and in person. I mean, he's the real deal, isn't he? I mean, I know we've mentioned him before, but the level of composure that this kid has got, and he is a kid, he's only 18 years old, that this kid has got, like, it's been all over my social medias. This guy should be starting for United and for England. And genuinely, he's got that sort of excitement that Rooney, Owen had coming through at that time. But obviously, a better player than Michael Owen.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've got an absolute gem on our hands, and now he's starting to show it on the international stage. So even though he only had 15 minutes yesterday, so it's probably the highlight of the England game for me, because the rest of it wasn't much to write home about. So, Mainoo, he's shown exactly where he belongs, and he didn't look out of place yesterday. But like I said, that moment when he first came on, that first minute, the press resistant dribbling as well. It's just like he just literally, impressed in those 15 minutes. And I'm just, he's, that performance only 15 minutes, but like you and the rest of us, we're wanting him to start, every game for United and maybe even for England as well. So I think the stats from yesterday's England game said Gallagher had completed 24 passes in 75 minutes, Mainoo completed 20 in 15 minutes with 100% pass completion. So it's just the level of control he has on the ball as well, which you need. We need at club football and international level as well. So people saying start him next to Rice in the Euros as well, which, if Mainoo carries on the way the club form, hopefully Gareth will pick him. So I remember him saying at the start of the season, he's got that injury in pre-season against Arsenal. It sort of curtailed him for a couple of months, and he just I think if he had those, I'm just thinking if he didn't get that injury in pre-season, God, the development of him as a player would have just been, well, we'd be seeing even more of him. But like I say, the injury didn't hold him back in pre-season. He's come straight into the other side, and you can't see Mainoo being dropped anytime soon, because he's just putting in performances. And last weekend against Liverpool, when he went past 3 players, it was like showing that bit of skill as well. It was just like, that was like in the first half, but it was 2-1 down. I said, well, that piece of skill will mean little to nothing. We don't win this game, but I was just I was really impressed with it. Well, been impressed with him the whole season. I just think, you just can't believe he's only 18 years old. And I'm just thinking, what can he do in the next 10 to 15 years for United? It's just going to be, I'm just excited by him.
I can see it. We don't often get much emotion from you, but I can see the little sides of your lips going. And it's a wonderful thing. Like a little kid at Christmas. Love it. Box saying Bellingham looked good, but for all the hype, I thought he'd be like prime Zidane. Kaka, to be fair, he was more just like prime, overrated. I just see what I did there. Made a joke about KSI and his brands. Come on, kids, stick with me. NT, speaking of United captain candidates, do we have a future one in Mainoo? He's got the maturity and mentality. I wouldn't be surprised if he was one day. I would say 100% yes. And Box, he was from Brazil. He's not a Birmingham lad, I don't think. But I get what you're saying. He certainly plays for only Wolves or Villa. And he's still Brazilian. Do you know, they've got like a way in which they teach people to play football over there, which is just all about the skill and the flair. And that's kind of where I was getting at with it. But you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. Danny B, that is. What say you, my pal? Kobbie Mainoo, just like on it. I'm a bit like Andrew, but I've been a slow burner with him. I really did not want to put any pressure on the chap. But now, as far as I'm concerned, he's the next Bobby Charlton.
Yeah, I was the same. I was apprehensive because we've had players in the past, especially in the last decade, where we've had like Januzaj and players like that, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's got to be the next this, the next that." But for me, every time I watch him, the one thing that I always take from it is he just looks like he belongs there. He looks like he's played there for years. He doesn't, he doesn't look like a teenager just coming into the team. That he didn't like last night when he come on for England. I didn't watch the first half, but I put the second half on thinking Mainoo might get some game time. So I put it on, but when he come on, he just looked like he'd played the whole game. He didn't take any time easing in or anything like that. He just, like I say, straight away, Cruyff turning these midfielders inside out that had been playing for years. And he just, everything I see from him just ticks every single box. And the more I watch him, the more excited I get. And the sky's the limit for him. As long as he stays injury free and all the stuff that goes along with that, I don't see how we don't have one of the top talents in the world on our hands at some point.
Oh, if he gets injured in the next game, Dan, that's totally coming back onto you, Sunshine.
Sorry.
Let you off. Danny Field. Trying to bring it down a little bit, but it does remind me of. You might remember, you might not. I'm not convinced you're old enough, but you used to be able to, back when I was younger, Danny B will know what I'm talking about. He'll be straight on with it. You used to be able to get a table tennis bat and a rubber ball, and the rubber ball was attached by an elastic band, so you could just keep popping it up again, and the ball would just keep coming back down again. That's what Cobby's feet's like. Like the ball just seems to go, but then it's immediately back where his foot is, because he's just got it on a string, hasn't he? He's a puppeteer.
I don't want. It sounds like I'm having a dig, but I'm not having a dig because people don't rate him enough. But he's Michael Carrick, but he can dribble. And
worried where he was going to go there.
Yeah. But that's not a bad thing. If he can have half of the career that Carrick had, then he's going to be quite successful anyway. But I just love that he's such a simple footballer, but it's so difficult to do, if that makes sense. I put him in the same thing as Rodri, because Rodri does it as well. It's just simple basics of winning the ball back, taking a few touches, and passing it to somebody else. I mean, he's really good at dribbling as well. But most of his game is, I'll get the ball back, I'll get an interception.
Should be good at dribbling. He's only just out of nappies.
Well, yeah, exactly. But yeah, he's just really good at the basic thing as football, and some footballers don't learn that their entire career. And he seems to have picked it up by the age of 18 perfectly. And you need that in your team. And I mean, with what you look at, England could have in midfield. I've started a comment here about Scholes, which we'll go back to. You could have Rice, Bellingham, and Kobe Mainoo in the midfield there as a three, and that is a decade worth of talent right there that can play together and all play to each other's strengths. Because Bellingham's very good at being at the tip of the point, Rice is very good at winning the ball back and intercepting, and Kobe Mainoo is very good at just keeping the ball alive, keeping it moving. It's not even like, it's hard to explain because there's people this week called him, I can't remember, I don't know what the word was, but they basically called him overrated and said that he's not very good as a DM. He can't do it on his own. Of course he can't do it on his own. He's 18. There's only one DM I've ever seen being able to do it on their own, and that was Kante. And I still don't understand how he ever did it. He covered 1,000,000 yards every single game with ease. But he's just got such a good footballing head on his shoulders. He sees things that people don't see. And the ability to keep it so simple when you've got somebody like Bruno Fernandes, if you can get Bruno Fernandes back to the tip and just have him feeding him, it'll be absolutely perfect. But for that to happen, we need a proper defensive midfielder that Kobe Mainoo can play just slightly in front of. We've got that in Casemiro, but he's just not in form at the minute. Arsenal have just scored against Villa. So it's just, I rate him, really rate him. I'm not going to get too carried away because I don't think he's not going to be a Bellingham type footballer. He's not going to score 17 goals, 20 goals a season. He's not going to get 10 assists a season. But if he can sit in that midfield and mesh every single thing together, which is what Michael Carrick was an absolute king at, then he's going to be everything that we need at the football club, because it's what we've missed for the last decade. That player that can take a bit of responsibility in midfield, beat his man if he needs to, but keep it simple. Keep the ball moving. nothing too flashy, just be sort of the glue in the middle of the pitch. But I don't think there's any doubt if he keeps his head on his shoulders that he's got now, he's going to be a really, really big player for the club.
No, for sure. I mean, NT just pointed out that he thinks he's a bit different to Michael Carrick. He sees him as a rounded all-action number 8, rather than someone who sits in front of the back line, has too much quality on the ball to waste him in the 6. I'm not. When did we start? When did numbers become how we define our players? It's got to be a championship manager generation type thing for this to have occurred. Because I just remember people being like ball winning midfielders. And when it was 4-4-2, you wanted a Keane who would sit there, win the ball back, and then pass it over to somebody who was good. And then you wanted a Scholes who was going to then take that on there and just dink it wherever it was that you needed that ball to go and set up the attacks, I suppose. And I think the beauty about this lad is that he could do both of those positions. He could win the ball back and then dink the ball out to wherever it is you want it to go to, or take on a few players. So I think what I'm saying here is he's not a 6 or an 8, he's a 7, because he's somewhere in between the middle. And he can quite easily do them both. So who knows? And in my opinion, of course, I'm not a coach. I'd like to see anyone on the pitch. He's pure class, but obviously not in goal. That would be far too much. Hello, what's this? I have about 300 characters, Barry. It's hard to waffle as much as I'd like to. NT, you are welcome on this channel anytime you want, sir. And I mean that genuinely. I know you're not on
Reserve
Twitter.
seat.
If that is something you would like to do, I'd happily have you on here so that you could waffle away with us. And I'm not having a dig there. Honestly, that would be our absolute honour and privilege to have you on here, because you've been on every show. So if you want to come and waffle, absolutely feel free, sir. We'd love to have you. Something that I thought was really nice about the Brazil game was that the guy that scored against us, Endrick, came out and said afterwards that playing in the place where somebody like Bobby Charlton played and scored goals was a big thing for him. He's 17 years old. That, again, we're talking about players coming through at this young age. Here's a guy who's seen his history, has worked out where he is, the audience of the people that he's around with, and is still being inspired by Sir Bobby Charlton, who, let's be honest, had stopped playing long before he was born. But yet still the legend goes on. Andrew, I'll come to you for this one, really, perhaps more than the other two guys. But like, genuinely, it just goes to show when people talk about the reach of Manchester United, this is what we're talking about, right? The fact that he's our greatest ever midfielder, almost our greatest ever appearance maker, other than Mr. Giggs, obviously, who just decided to race past it because he just wouldn't go anywhere else. And it's amazing, isn't it, that our reach still goes that far, and even after a game like that, the name of Bobby Charlton is just going to carry on forever and ever, really.
Yeah, it's nice for Enric to, mention Sir Bobby's name and say, say about that yesterday's game, the highlight being Toby Mainoo's debut as well, but also him as well. So he got the winning goal, and then paying homage to United legend as well. So it seems like both Endrick and Mainoo are set for good things in the for their futures. So just say he's definitely one I'll be certainly watching out for. After watching last night's game. So I mean, and Endrick's only 17 years old. For him to have knowledge to speak about a player like Sir Bobby, like years before his time, it's almost really commendable. In the tribute is made even more special by Endrick, given that Sir Bobby's passing in last year as well. As he's earned the respect of the Old Trafford faithful. So, let's say, as far as wonder kids go, there's Mainoo and Endrick. It's the hype is real for both of them. So, let's say, because I know Endrick's going to Real Madrid, so I think they're going to have a real gem on their hands, like we've got with Mainoo as well. So, I think, we'll see what happens in both of their careers. But it's nice, our reach is, global, and legends of the past that still here or have gone. They've been still in everybody's thoughts as well.
No, absolutely. I thought it was genuinely wonderful. And another thing that's come out over this international, I didn't have the heart to tell the guy that was old Wembley, new Wembley, didn't play it, but never mind. Amrabat, Garnacho, McTominay, obviously all players that have had a go at playing during this international break. But we had a debutant, somebody new, which is quite cool. We've got a youngster called James Scanlon, who plays for the club. And he has become the first ever Manchester United player to turn out for, get ready for this, Gibraltar. First ever player to come out and play for Gibraltar and their 1-0 loss against Lithuania. Now, I don't know what people know about Gibraltar, but if I'm right, and I think I'm right, this is the one where their national football stadium is literally surrounded by the ocean. It's one of those where, you know, if you put your balls out, your ball boys have basically got life jackets because they're just sort of bobbing around in the sea just in case. Oh, I'll get it, don't worry, and doggy paddling over. But genuinely, James Scanlon getting that, I wondered, because I hadn't really. Had any of you three heard much of young James Scanlon? I suppose I'm looking mostly over there at Andrew.
No, I haven't heard of seen much of him, but I say when I heard the news he was playing for Gibraltar, so he hasn't even made a first team appearance. So was that, and haven't heard much of him beforehand. So it's nice to hear, you know, United youth product, you know, being in an international side as well. So okay, it was a defeat as well, but it's nice for him to, you know, be on the international stage. So it could be the first of many appearances for Scanlon. So I think he was eligible to play for England, but he represented Gibraltar at youth level. So, and then for the under 17s and then the under 21. So he's literally just been fast tracked into the whole national team. And so, and I think he's got a younger brother as well, Luca as well, who's part of the United Academy. So, and I think he's in the under 16 Gibraltar squad. So yeah, it's nice that we're producing good young talent, you know, and they're getting their moment on the international stage as well. So I will be following him, James Scanlon, a lot more now and watching his progression, see how far he can go, and see if he will make the first team in the near future.
You did incredibly well to do a bit of last minute Googling there, Andrew, and have some bits
to...
whilst you were talking. And this is why you're a pro. I love it. But while you were doing that, I did exactly the same thing. I went to the United app, and I could confirm he joined us in 2023, having come from Derby County's youth system. He's a midfielder. Like I said, joined us at the beginning of the season, and date of birth 27th September 2006. So he's not even fully 18 years old yet. So yes, that is quite a moment for the young man. So congratulations there. And NT just saying about the other thing took me back too. Such a nice touch from someone as young as him. Heartwarming to see Bobby still recognised and appreciated still. And I could not agree more. Last thing, I suppose, whilst we're sitting here talking about the internationals as such, I suppose it would be remiss, especially as soon as when I asked both of the Dans what else we should talk about today, they both mentioned this exact same thing. It's like they are the same person. But they both said we should perhaps talk about this. So I'm going to go to Andrew first, purely because these two had time to think about their answers, and you haven't, Andrew. So this will be brand new for you, unless, of course, you read the. Oh no, I didn't put it in the tweet. This is great news for you. So, Gareth Southgate, yes or no? Oh, he's muted himself. He literally did it and then muted himself, because what he actually said there was, "I think this is a great appointment."
No, definitely no. Definitely no.
I cannot wait for him to be in the dugout. Is that right, Andrew?
I don't want him there. I'm sorry. I know Southgate's come out and said, "Oh, I'm not going to be talking about, you know, it's wrong, you know, being linked with their jobs." And I'm just like, but sorry, give Ten Hag the chat. I think with, you know, the ownership, you know, Sir Jim coming in, his team, you know, making significant changes, give Ten Hag the tools he needs, and let's give him next season as well. I'm just like, I think I said it on the show the other week about Southgate. I said he hadn't managed in club football for 15 years and his last job was Middlesbrough. I'm like, club football has changed a lot in 15 years. I mean, not disputing what he's done for England in it, because he went from the under-21s to the national squads, well, first team national. But I'm just like, I'm just thinking Ten Hag's proven he's won the, leagues in Holland, and cups as well. I'm just, sorry to say to Gareth Southgate, I always think of Sir Jim, in his quote, he said best in class, and I'm just, do I see Gareth Southgate as best in class? No. So
Depends what class he's in, doesn't it?
I mean, he's a good international manager, but as I said, he's not been in club football, so I'm very much Ten Hag in still, so I'll nail my mass to that one.
Well, I mean, the two Dannies will come to you as well, but I find the Gareth Southgate debate like incredibly interesting. I don't know if there is an element of elitism within football fanery, if that's even a word. Fandom, perhaps, would probably be the better one. Whereby Ollie Solskjaer hadn't won a huge amount, but when you look at what he did for the club, I would still argue the best manager we've had post Alex Ferguson. And I would believe the statistics back that up. Now, Gareth Southgate by no means is, I mean, he's the Lidl of managers, isn't he? But ultimately, they do an incredibly good job, Lidl, of getting people through the door. Arguably, more so than the likes of Tesco's and Waitrose and Marks and Spencer's, all those sorts of people. So he's done well with us. Like when you look at the England journey, we know that he's done well with the England under-21s, as Andrews has said, really helped to build the foundation. We're a club that's based on youth. He understands the importance of having a youth system that helps to feed into your first team. So he understands all that. He's taken us to finals. Granted, we didn't win it, but he's taken us there. He's given us, as a nation, probably more hope of winning anything since Terry Venables, and potentially Bobby Robson as well. All of that is undisputable because everything I've just said there is a fact. Why then, Danny B, do you think the vast majority of my timeline has said, and I'm going to quote something that you said, I'll jump off a cliff if Gareth Southgate decides to join Man United? And I know you're only joking, but like generally people seem worried about this happening. Why do you think it distresses people so?
For me, I know you say like it's facts about what he's done with the England team and stuff, but honestly, like you look at what the Euro final, it was the worst Italian team in my lifetime that we've ever seen. We were 1-0 up and we absolutely bottled it. We sat back, we defended the World Cup semi-final against Croatia. Don't get me wrong, decent Croatia team, but we were 1-0 up. We sat back, we defended. He picks his favourites. We play boring, negative football like all the time. Like he's got these players like Phil Foden that for his club is an absolute world beater, but then he turns up for England duty and he looks like he can't string two passes together. And I just think he isn't capable of managing high-profile players. Now, I know he gets youth and I know he was good at under-21 level, but for me, my personal opinion on this is, and I do like a little bit of a conspiracy and stuff, I just think Ineos have threw this out there to kind of stop people being Ten Hag out and just saying, well, this is the other option. So we're sticking with Ten Hag, or we have Southgate, and everyone's going to be like, right, just keep Ten Hag, whatever, that's my personal opinion.
I'd say, Dan, I haven't looked at it from that point of view, and how hilarious would that? You'd have thought Graham Potter would have been the person that did that, but apparently not. It's taking Gareth Southgate to potentially have people thinking that is what we need to do. Belfast, man. Love this. Thank you very much. What a lovely thing to say. Can't wait for International Week to end. I hate them. I really, especially when it's just friendlies. That's what makes me want to jump off the cliff, to be honest with you. It's like, oh, why is it there? I didn't even watch the game last night. My friends were texting me saying, "Oh, you watching the England match?" I'm like, no, I chose Gladiators over England, and I'm not sorry. Actually, really enjoyed the Gladiators. And I can't believe that Chung got out. That's unreal. He was only injured. That's atrocious. I got really into it as well. Southgate United is terrifying. Peace and love, brothers and sisters. Absolutely agree. So thank you very much for that. And maybe, Dan, you're right. I'm more Ten Hag out, but maybe the Southgate thing is to frighten us. Maybe. Maybe. Genuinely, you might have got there. Danfield, what say you? You don't seem to be like an elitist sort of person to me. I feel like you are very much for the people. So you must be Southgate in, surely.
I agree completely with this.
Ooh.
So I get what Dan's saying in terms of what he's done for England. You can sort of, or Spain, Italy, Germany, as good as they were when the golden generation couldn't do it. The thing I would say to that is probably not, but he still got us to places where the golden generation couldn't get us, and the people like Fabio Capello couldn't get us with much better players than what they've got now. I don't think it is completely horrifying. Now, I wouldn't say I would want Gareth Southgate to come in. I would much prefer Ten Hag to stay, given the choice of the two. I yo-yo like a champion from Ten Hag out to Ten Hag in to Ten Hag out. But ultimately, I want Ten Hag. Yeah, flip-flop. I would prefer him to stay. I would love to see some of these players go first, but I don't think it's as terrifying as social media has made out in the last week or so. I think there's in situations where Southgate's actually done a good job. And the one thing I've asked a couple of people, which they've not been able to sort of understand where I'm coming from, is if the players go out and play for Ten Hag and they're lackluster, like they have been for 12, 15 months, and the performances aren't fantastic, and we sort of crawled over the line in some of these games, it's the players' fault. But when the players are doing this in the England team, it's the manager's fault. So the players were 1-0 up after 2 minutes against Italy. There's nothing to say that Southgate wants them to sit back. Is it a mentality issue when they wear in the England shirt that they've just sort of dropped 10 yards because we're not used to winning as a country? And it's scary when you're in a final, you 1-0 up after 2 minutes. These players have never been there before. They've never done it before. They've got a whole nation's weight on their shoulders for these 90 minutes in semi-finals, finals. So is it the players that then go into the shell a little bit? And I think
just a quick one, Dan.
Yeah.
So just to argue your point a little bit here, how comes players like Phil Foden, John Stones, Kyle Walker are all absolutely impeccable for their club, but yet they look like a bunch of bottle jobs when they play for England?
Because they're surrounded by better players, ultimately.
Maybe.
So the reason Phil Foden was quality in the Champions League final, because he had Rodri next to him, keeping everything together like glue. What I'm saying is,
Declan Rice is no mug, though, is he?
No, he's not. And I genuinely think that I think this is kind of my point in a way. Southgate, given the chance, I think he'll win something with England. It's not the best football in the world, but he gets the team to a level where they could actually win something because they get to finals. Like, I'm genuinely not saying that he should come to the club or whatever. I just think he gets a lot of criticism, maybe over the top sometimes, and he's not done that bad of a job. Would other managers have done better? This is what I hear a lot of people say. Oh, this manager would have definitely done better than Southgate. Yeah, but we had that in the past when we had David Beckham, Paul Scholes, Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, John Terry, Rio Ferdinand, Ashley Cole, Gary Neville, just to name a few absolute world-class stars, and they couldn't get past group stages. And this guy getting us to finals.
Dan, is that people mention that you just said other managers would do this manager would do that, and the thing is, and this is by and large the problem with football, and I'm going to do it here, NT fannery, is that actually you can never be proven wrong with that.
No,
because it's just your opinion, and because it hasn't happened, you can feel emboldened by that. But like I could turn around and say, oh well, actually, Roberto Martinez would be the person that takes us to the top, or if I really felt like it. What's the name of the Carlisle manager, Dan?
Paul Simpson.
Paul Simpson can take over at Man United.
He couldn't
I don't
take me.
agree.
He couldn't take me to the pub at the moment, Barry.
But the whole point there would be that how can you say that I'm wrong? Because
Well,
the minute you start, if you can come up with a logical reason as to what they're doing for club, and this is what I mean, when you turn that, and the fact that Southgate has got an England side that was nowhere near finals, 2 finals, and it's still not good enough for people, yet they want people that haven't necessarily done that for international teams, that haven't necessarily done that for clubs, just because, and as NT's put here, sorry, it wasn't this one. My apologies. It was this one. NT puts a lot down there. I also don't like a few things he's done. Not play players on form like he said he would. He brought Sterling, Rashford, and Sancho on to take penalties, knowing the odds are tiny and subject him. I wasn't a huge fan of him doing that. No, you're wrong. But it's the last bit of this. And obviously, it's the racial abuse. I mean, to be fair, the racial abuse was not something that Southgate, I think, can be blamed for. That's just morons. You wouldn't cross the road if these people were on fire. But, well, you would. Sorry, you wouldn't pee on them. He made Greenwood answer questions on Harry Maguire after the trouble in Mykonos, and he doesn't play attacking football. It's the last line there. He doesn't play attacking football like we would demand at United. And this is what I mean when I start saying elitist people. It's an elitist thing. In other words, if the manager's not playing the football you want them to, then all of a sudden that person isn't good enough.
So I just wanted to go to the Martinez one. You look at Martinez at Belgium, where he had some of the best players in the world in Eden Hazard, Kevin De Bruyne, you had Lukaku, you had Alderweireld. You had literally a golden generation in Belgian football, and he absolutely bombed at Belgium. And then he's gone to Portugal, and genuinely, you can go back, and Portugal fans were like, oh my God, he's going to be awful. He's going to be rubbish. He's going to be this, he's going to be that. I don't think he's lost a game since he's taken over, and they're playing some of the best football I've seen on international stage comfortably. Again, it's a weird one for me. I don't think he deserves the criticism that he gets, Southgate. I think he's done enough to have a bit of respect to his name in the England job, but I ultimately wouldn't take him at United because he's not going to bring anything different to what Ten Hag's already doing at the club. I prefer to back Ten Hag long term than bring Southgate in over him.
I think I'm with you. I think that's 100% what I would do. Matthew Ross doesn't agree. He wants Southgate nowhere near United. He's a horrible manager and shouldn't be a candidate.
There's not much you could say to that.
It's just a horrible bit. Like, I can't work out if he's abused Matthew Ross, had a bit of a shout at him and told him he's a naughty boy or something. I don't know. What makes him horrible? Did he take away his Jaffa cakes? Or does it just mean he's not a very good manager? A bit of context there would be helpful because I can't understand the word horrible because he's always seemed pretty pleasant in press conferences to me. Box saying some of the names being mooted like Southgate are not very inspiring or have questionable CVs, but in the modern day, having a name like Southgate isn't fancy like a De Zerbi, Amorim or Nagelsmann. And do you know what? I have this argument over on the women's channel because if you ever try and stick up for the players like Nikita Paris, Katie Zellem, Beth Mead, all of those sorts of players, instantly you get told, oh, you're Lionesses FC. And let's not forget that England women have won a Euros and made it to the World Cup final where they lost to Spain. And I find it ridiculous that when you took it to the men's side as well, again, they've reached finals. They've been in the top 3 or 4 positions in pretty much every competition they've been in over the last 4 years. And the minute you start talking about these people, it's all just, oh, well, it's all England, it's all England, it's all England. And actually, you should be able to celebrate the fact that England are doing well in football tournaments and be able to big up our own players. And I completely agree with this. It isn't as fancy as having those names, but actually, as you've already said, in international football, he's not bad at all. Georgie Best has come in with, if there were a world starting 11 put together, not one English player would be in it. NT mentioned Harry Kane, and I would also throw in Kobe Mainoo would absolutely be in there with a shout right now because, as you already mentioned, he's a legend. Yes or no answer. What if Ineos bring in Southgate to take McLaren's job as an assistant for Ten Hag? Would you take that? Yes or no, Danny B?
No.
No, he prefers McLaren. He wouldn't mind him replacing Ferrari.
No.
I don't
No.
see Southgate taking that job, to be fair. Like,
No,
why
I
do you
don't
gotta-
either. But it's a fantasy world that we're living in, and we're going for it. Anfield?
I would, because Wally with a Brolly didn't do a very good job, did he, at England?
Ooh, interesting. But yet one of the better number twos for United.
Yes, I was going to say McLaren did better as an assistant for us.
Oh no, I'm just saying in terms of management of England, McLaren was absolutely awful, and
Yeah,
he's
he
an
was
assistant at
the
Man
Wally with the
United. So
Brolly.
there's no reason that Southgate couldn't be a really good assistant for us.
Facts. Imagine that. Imagine that. And another thing he's asked, another yes or no. 60 million asking price for Branthwaite. Dan from Everton came in and was talking about his abilities. Is he worth the money? Again, yes or no? Danny B?
Yes.
Andrew Wall?
No.
Oh, no. Oh. Danny Field?
No.
Interesting. Only Dan Bateman who would take him. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed.
I'm slightly biased, mind. He played for Carlisle and he's from this area. I'm slightly biased.
That wasn't the peculiar
And
interest.
Carlisle get a percentage of the fee that gets paid, so I'm slightly biased.
Well, there you go then. So we're going to pay £60 million for someone purely because, and I quote, he used to play for Carlisle.
And
take him
Carlisle
for
get the transfer fee.
Unbelievable. I think at the end of the day, NT, we should be looking at it like this. Is he a guaranteed upgrade over Ten Hag? We've sat managers for over a decade and taken steps backwards or sideways. Is he a step forward? I mean, the truth is you wouldn't know until he's in position, would you? At which point we'd be having the same conversation. We all thought that Ten Hag was going to be a step forward from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and as yet hasn't been. So swings and roundabouts, brother, innit? Swings and roundabouts. Georgie Best saying international football and club football, two different worlds. Absolutely. 100% agree. Southgate to be the water boy. I've now got visions of him replacing Adam Sandler. Could you imagine it? There's some high quality H2O. Just can never see it happening. It's hard to buy gems and they're already expensive. So young. Yes, they are. Right. The final part of our show today, I wanted to go through the loans. I have got, let me just count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 players' names written down. All 8 of them are players who we have sent out on loan. And my question to you is a very simple one. Should we, when let me put my teeth back in. Should we, when the loan runs out, bring them back to the club and potentially put them into a starting position, considering all of the tomfoolery and shenanigans that have been going on around our squad this season? Just going to quickly put this one up there. I like McLaren's Dutch accent when he speaks English. He was there during the treble too. It's not a bad bullet point on his CV, for sure. So we're going to start off with the defence because these are two very interesting ones for me. Brandon Williams and Alvaro Fernandez. Both left backs, both sent out on loan, both players that we could have done with being here this season. But I suppose the question is here, it's like one of those stick or twist ones. Is left back a position specifically that we need to improve on within the squad? Or do we think Williams or Fernandez could be that person, or indeed the backup for the only world-class player in the team, according to Tone, Luke Shaw? So what say you three? Williams, Fernandez, bring him back, kick him out. What are we saying? Danny B.
I'd definitely bring them both back. I think. I mean, Brandon Williams kind of played obviously under Ollie. He's been away on he's at Ipswich, I think, isn't he? And he's had a few off the field issues as well. But for me, he can play right back or left back. So with the injuries we've had, he would have been ideal over these last few months. And Fernandez, I think we've talked about it on here before. The whole decision baffled me. When we loaned him out with Luke Shaw's injury record, Malassia's injury record. So yeah, I'd keep both of them if I could next season and give them a bit of a chance. But knowing that, like the way it's worked for us, our fullbacks will stay fit next season and then they won't get a kick.
Absolutely. Matthew obviously didn't want to explain the word horrible and just went straight into keep Fernandez, sell Williams, which, to be honest, I agree with. Andrew, what say you?
Definitely sell Brandon Williams. I just think, time's up at United. I think say he's had his chances to break through and he's had his moments, but, and like I say, going out on loan, but he's just not managed to make that breakthrough entirely where he's been a first team regular. With Alvaro Fernandez, I would like to keep him, but from what I'm reading, Benfica are reportedly wanting to trigger the purchase clause. They're wanting to sign him permanently. But if Fernandez came back, is he going to get the game time in the first team he wants? I don't think so. I just think he wants to be. I was going to say, he's 21 years old. He's hoping to play more regularly in this stage of his career. And if we can't provide him that assurances, then he's probably wanting to move away. So Benfica are willing to trigger that the buying clause. So, but I'd like to keep him, but I think I can see him going when he comes back from his loan.
Absolutely. NT saying that's my main concern too. Not fair enough if they get no games. Harder to sell, probably a smaller fee if we tried to sell in January. Better off strengthening in those positions. There we go. Must have been out the room. I said horrible as in his tactics, decision making on subs. I can live with that. Thank you very much for clarifying. Helps make me understand it better. I am getting old. We speak about moments from Brandon Williams there down the field. The biggest moment I remember from Brandon Williams was when he went into a tackle with Christian Eriksen, went to throttle him, then realised who it was and decided to give him a hug. And that's not a reason to keep a guy at Manchester United, is it? So, what do you make of these two?
I might be wrong, but I'm sure Brandon Williams is literally either down to his contract runs out in the summer or he's got one more year. So,
that's a technical question, Dan. I don't know.
If we could get rid of him to Ipswich, I think I definitely would do that. I genuinely think we could have given him a chance this season because he was good enough under Solskjaer, so I don't see why he wouldn't have been good enough at the end of this season. But I would get rid of Williams. And Fernandez, I don't know if me and Andy have been looking at different things, but I've read somewhere that they don't want to activate the clause because I was arguing with somebody about this. He's played 35% of available minutes and he's already made 3 of the 6 starts where I think if he makes 6 starts, it's automatic, isn't it? So if he starts 3 more games, they buy him. There's no ifs or buts about it. So, but I saw somewhere that there was rumours that they wasn't overly impressed by him, but he started 3 games and he's played 35% of minutes, so he seems to be doing okay. This is a frustrating thing for me with Fernandez. People seem to think that everybody that said that Fernandez should have stayed this season were demanding that he started every single game because he was the best left back we've ever seen under 21 level. And that's not what we were saying. What we were saying was he was good enough to get 30% of minutes at Manchester United, not 100% of minutes, just the odd start here, a chance there, a few minutes in the first team, nothing OTT, get him ready for next year. And I'm still at the same place with Fernandez, to be honest with you. I think Luke Shaw's injury prone. I'm not sure whether the rumours that have come out about Malacia today are true or not. They seem to come from a bit of a weird source, according to the internet or X or whatever you call it these days, that he's struggling mentally as well as with his injury. So hopefully he's not, and he gets the help that he needs. Or I'm hoping it's just rumours. It's nothing true. But with the situation at left back, we're either buying somebody or you've got to give somebody a chance that we've already got. But I would sell Williams and I would keep Fernandez. But again, not to start every game, but bring him in slowly if we can.
You would think Fernandez is struggling mentally. It would make complete sense to me when you consider that his injury wasn't supposed to keep him out as long as it has done, and it's just got worse and worse. And so I would fully understand him not feeling too good about that. But we do all seem to be in the same sort of ballpark there. But I think, again, as I said, is that not just a place where we just need to go out there and buy ourselves a left back who's what's the term the Tories use? Oven ready. Go for that.
Tough one, isn't it? Though, because
oven ready Brexit deal. That's what we're after.
Because Tone's not wrong, is he? Luke Shaw is absolutely world class on his day. And like Dan says, probably what'll happen is we'll go and buy a left back that's quality, and then Luke Shaw will stay fit all season, and then we'll have we'll have a squad and left back that don't want to be at the club anymore because he was signed under false pretenses.
That'll be a better position to be in, wouldn't it? Than
Well,
having to put Victor Lindelof out there. So
that's what kind of player he is.
Picks poison. I'm going to say one now that I think we'll all get past very, very quickly. Donny van der Beek.
No.
Sell.
Andrew Wall.
So he's going to go.
Danfield.
So
it was easy. Knew that would be. But less so are these three midfielders. So I'm going to kick off with Pellistri, because the three names that I've got are obviously Pellistri, Gore, and Hannibal. Now, there's been a lot of chat about Dan Gore and his abilities, and he's had a couple of appearances and chances to show what he's doing. Hannibal as well has come on, didn't necessarily set the world alight on the few games that he did play, though. And of course, Pellistri was somebody who was signed with great promise under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who's been underutilised for sure within the squad. So when you start looking at those three players, what do you do with them? Because midfield-wise, very tricky at the moment. As we say, we look at it, we've got Bruno in the 10 with Mason Mount still due to return and presumably to get some minutes because he's cost far too much money to not be given a chance. Casemiro, who is winding down, if he was a Duracell battery, he'd need recharging. We've got Dan Gore, who, of course, is potentially one who could fit into that position, but is he better than a Casemiro, a prime Casemiro, as the kids say nowadays? Of course, you've got Scott McTominay. You've got Kobbie Mainoo as someone who we've spoken about as well. Do any of those three players really, really have the opportunity and the chance of being given minutes for Manchester United next season? Danny B.
I think as much as I think Pellistri should get some game time, I think it's clear that Ten Hag isn't going to give him game time. So I think it's probably best for Pellistri to move on. I think, again, with Dan Gore, it depends on how much they've got him, invested in him. Do they think he's the next big thing? Do they think he's going to be a replacement for somebody in midfield? I don't necessarily think they do. That's why he's on loan at Port Vale, I think. I'd maybe loan him out to maybe a championship club next season and give him a bit more time. And for me, Hannibal, he runs around a lot. He kicks at people, but for me, I think I would sell Hannibal. I think he could get himself a good club. I don't think he's a bad player, but we've just got so many midfield options. It just depends on who we sell in the summer as well. Who does Ten Hag want to move on? Is Casemiro going to go? McTominay? You just don't know, do you? So, yeah, I'd probably give Dan Gore more of a chance, but I'd loan him out. But I think the other two should probably move on.
I mean, that's certainly where the chat seems to have gone. Boxer said that, a better loan, higher up loan, or integrate in the first team squad. Andy Wall, what would you do? Because I struggle with them. Gore and Hannibal specifically. I can't see a route into the first team for them. Do you?
Well, for Gore and Hannibal, those two, I would keep Dan Gore. I'm just thinking from what a brief seen of him in his first, a couple of appearances he made for the first team, he looked really good, but he needs more development. I just think he needs to come back to the club. But Hannibal, do I see him making that breakthrough into the first team? Getting consistent games. I don't see it at the moment, and I think maybe for him and his career to move on. And with Pellistri as well, I'm just like, a return to United in the summer, you could get more minutes than me. He's doing well in Spain, but I say if United don't sign, more attacking talent in the summer, then Pellistri might get that chance, but there's also the chance he could be moved on. And I just think with early on in the season, who would make more of the breakthrough, Pellistri or Ahmad? And I thought it's probably going to be Pellistri, and I was like, after last Sunday, I was like, No, Ahmad's the one that's just hit, and he'll be the one that will break through. And I'm just thinking for Palestri, I just don't see him getting, consistent minutes in their games as well. Because when he was coming on, he was getting 10 minutes here and there. So that's probably what he ain't going to settle for just that. So I just think for Palestri, I think time to move on. I just think Ahmad's just got ahead of him now.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, NT's just mentioned here about all of them pretty much going because we need to recoup some money. So seeing them all being moved on. But based on the Man United structure and the way in which we sold players, that's going to get us about 75 pence and a Mars bar. So, Ineos would have to pull their fingers out and actually sell them for decent money with some sell-on clauses and bits and bobs like that, I would imagine. Danfield, anything you want to add on those three? Gore, Hannibal, Palestri, do you see any chances for any of them? I mean, as Andy's just mentioned, Amad Diallo looking like the more likely to be given the minutes instead of Palestri. And of course, if it wasn't for the introduction of Kobbie Mainoo, is that pretty much done for Gore and Hannibal as well?
I keep Gore. Really, really rate him. I think he's at the age where he could still go out on loan if we could get a championship loan. That's perfect. Same as what Dan says. I think he's only 19. So he's still got plenty of a career left. I think we could argue that we've maybe moved on some youngsters a bit too quickly. It seems to be if you've not made it at Man United by the time you're 17, you're going to struggle. Not everybody's Kobbie Mainoo. So I'd keep him. I'd keep Gore. I think he's a good player. Palestri, I hate to put a damper on the celebrations here, but I rate Palestri, but I would sell him. But let's not forget that Ahmad was benched by Forsum for the last 2 or 3 games and couldn't get a kick. Only got a kick through pure desperation of Ten Hag against Liverpool. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come onto the pitch. So it's one of those. He's just not going to get the chance at Man United. I'm hoping that this kicks Ahmad's career off for him. But Palestri's done that a couple of times this season where he's come on. He's won the ball back against Fulham, I think it was. Fernandes scored the winner. He did it again in a Champions League game. He came on, was more effective in 10 minutes than what Anthony was for 70, and still didn't get a kick after that. So some of these players might need Ten Hag to be a little bit more relaxed in giving them a chance. And I think that's why ultimately they'll probably move on. But I personally think Gore is worth keeping, maybe another loan and see how he develops there. But I think somebody mentioned it up there in terms of Palestri's agent has been chatting some absolute rubbish as he moved. And yeah, I genuinely think that might have affected his future at the club. And Hannibal, I mean, he's just mad, isn't he? He's just crackers. But unfortunately, I don't think he's good enough. Again, another player that went on loan within the first 2 weeks had a problem with the manager that he went with, was then pushed out in training, so didn't really do very well at the start. But ultimately, it's just going to be a tough summer, I think, for Ten Hag, to be honest, because some of these players that we sit here saying maybe they haven't got a future at all, that might swing pretty quickly if we've not got a lot of money to spend. Because if you look at the players that might go, or maybe even centre-back wise, our transfer funds could have gone buying 2 defenders, and then suddenly we're in trouble. You've got Eriksen's possibly going to leave, Casemiro's possibly going to leave, Varane's set to leave, Maguire's future's up in the air. I mean, I whisper it, but is he becoming injury prone because this is another injury he's picked up? Do we want to keep him? So there's it's going to be a big revolving door this summer if it's all done correctly. We might end up seeing one of these players randomly stay that we think is going to leave.
Interesting. Yeah, for sure. Box mentioning Eriksen and Casemiro looking old, and I do have to say, Christian Eriksen has looked a bit on the old side in the last few games that I've seen him come on with as well. So you can be right there. Van der Beek and Amrabat moving on potentially. McTominay, who knows? Hopefully Gore could have a pathway. So who knows? That leads us down to the final 2. Jadon Sancho he's the guy we put on the thumbnail because he was, I thought, the most high profile and savoury person that we could actually put on in that respect. And he seems to be doing well at Dortmund. He seems to be quite happy getting his mojo back. I'm going to slightly tint this slightly differently. Is this actually best for both Jadon Sancho and Manchester United, not just Manchester United here, because we know that Jadon's had his own issues as well. Is it not best that we just let him go to Borussia Dortmund? And, you know, I've had talk that perhaps it will just be another loan, but ultimately his career at United is done, isn't it? And we need to do our best to give him somewhere where he can go and enjoy his football. Would you go along with that, Danny B? Or do you think he can still come back and somehow have an impact?
No, I think that's ship sailed for him. But I think he's enjoying himself at Dortmund. He seems happier. Whatever went on with Ten Hag, and it's obviously a deep-rooted problem. But I think it's best for both parties. Yeah, best for both if he goes.
No problems at all. Interesting. He's been kissing Dortmund's badge. Let's hope it's not unrequited love and they're willing to cough up some money. But that would certainly, if you add him into the mix, that 75 pence would definitely go up. We might even get a Snickers with that and all. Andrew Wall, what do you reckon? Jadon Sancho?
Yeah, he has to go. I think there's a lot of water under the bridge, but it's just like, what he did, I was just thinking if he just, even if he said sorry to Ten Hag, just Ten Hag was just giving his opinion at that time after the Arsenal why Jadon wasn't. He just didn't feel like he was at the standard he wanted. So Jadon might have thought otherwise, but you just don't air the dirty laundry in public. So you should have just kept it, well behind the scenes, in the walls of Carrington. But it's just, where do we sell him to? I know he probably ideally wants to be at Dortmund, but that deal may be a bit slim on the ground because of the wages as well, because he's on, was it over 200? I think he's one of the highest paid players at United. So can Dortmund afford his wages? And how much of a transfer fee can we get for Jadon as well? Is Dortmund willing to pay a lot of money? But it just definitely has to go. But which club will pick him up, I don't know.
He's one of those contracts where if we were told, that we can have him, we'll take him off your hands, but we can't afford to pay that amount of wages. Would you accept the club paying some of the wages just to have him off the roster? Because I saw Dan Field there shaking his head. In general, I don't go along with this. At the end of the day, if they're not going to pay the wages, then what's the point in having them? You're just helping them. But ultimately, it saves us. Whatever he's on. If he's on 250 grand a week, even if they're paying half, that's 125 grand that's been freed up to be put back into the pot. Is that something where we sit there and go, just bite the bullet on this one, and Ineos make a mental note that 350 grand a week is absolutely mental for playing a game of football? What do you reckon, Andy? Would you accept that?
I think I would, even if we had to take a bit of a hit. I don't know what Ineos are thinking, like when with Arsenal and Arteta, he got backed, and like some of those players that got rid of, like Aubameyang, Pepe, it was like you could have made some money, but they're just like, for the harmony of the squad and the dressing room, they went, we're going to cut our losses, and money's off the wage bill, so it's losing out on transfer money, but just thinking, well, we can get better players in, or players that are going to fit within the harmony of the dressing room, which is kind of what we need as well. So I'll be willing to take a hit on Sancho and moving him on, whether we get virtually next to nothing, so we can get that wage off the bill.
Fair enough. Danfield, your opinion on the discussion topic we are currently on?
I think that he may have a future at Man United, depending on the manager. If the manager goes, then he comes back. It's that simple. If the manager stays, then I don't think he's got a future. But there would be managers that come into Man United that think, I want a player like Jadon Sancho in the team. I had a bit of a discussion with a Man United fan the other day about this. Him playing well at Dortmund seems to be going badly with Man United fans, but I don't understand why. In no world, him playing well at Dortmund is a bad thing. It's a good thing. If he plays, I made this point. I said, let's go really off the cuff, and he lifts the Champions League with Dortmund. Then there's some serious value in our pockets then about teams that may take him. For me at Man United, it's just that he's not coming back under this manager. It's not happening. So if Ten Hag is backed in the summer and he stays, there's no future for Jadon Sancho. But if Graham Potter came in the summer, if Gareth Southgate came in the summer, there's a future for Sancho at the club, possibly. I don't think it's as cut as dry as they'll just get rid. I wouldn't take the hit on his wages. I would say to him, if I was running the club, you want to leave, you didn't apologise, you did this. If you want to go, you take a wage cut or you don't go. You'll be sent, you'll be stuck. I would prefer that the club show the world of football that we will stick Jadon Sancho in the reserves or send him on loan somewhere than pay his wages to be held ransom, if that makes sense.
Is that worth it? Like, genuine, I know what you're saying, and I genuinely I do, because ordinarily I would fall on the side of the fence that you're falling on. But is it really worth us paying 350 grand a week for a player who's never going to play for us because we've effectively cut ties with them until the end of his contract?
The thing is about that,
a lot less.
Yeah, the thing is about that is the club has taken, in all their accounts, they've taken every year of the contract into account. So they know what the FFP is. They know what this. Yes, if they can save it, fantastic. But if they can save it by paying his wages and sending him off to another club, it weakens our stance to the outside world. We need to take a stance of, like, we're not going to be messed around with this sort of money. You either commit to the club or you leave. And if you're not going to willing to do that, we're not going to pay your wages elsewhere so you can play football. You'll just go to our reserves, or you'll go to a team on loan that will cover your wages, even if it's not a fee, because that will save money. I think if Ten Hag stays, there'll be a deal of some kind to get him to Dortmund, whether that is they pay 30 million one year, 20 million the next, and they only cover his wages for the loan period or whatever. He'll go to Dortmund probably. But it'll be interesting to see whether Ten Hag stays. I hope he stays, and I hope Sancho finds a move elsewhere, and I hope he plays well to the end of the season and we get some money back for him. I think there's a future where if Ten Hag does leave, another manager might give him a chance.
It's a fair point, and certainly one that I hadn't really considered, but yeah, absolutely, you're not wrong. Okay, so the last player has, to be fair, he's not even on the Man United app, so just about says it all, really. But he is a player, nonetheless, that is on loan, and so therefore should come under the conversation. He's been banned as a topic of conversation for the best part of 2 years now, and rightly so. But, in my opinion, at some point his name's bound to come up. So I should imagine this will be a fairly short conversation. But I can't believe I'm about to say this, in the world of devil's advocate, in the world of balance, should Mason Greenwood be given the opportunity to return? Dan don't agree that he's gone straight off. We've mentioned the name and that's it. He's like, no, I'm out of here. I'm not chatting about him. I wish I could do the same. But is there a world where not could he return in terms of, the backlash? Because we all know what the backlash was, and I'm a big part of that. In my world, he never returns and we get rid of him. But we have had trouble attacking. So with that in mind, do you see a world in which Mason Greenwood could return for Manchester United? Danny B.
No. For me, I would rather have a team of players that weren't good enough, but there were stand-up people and people that you could trust, people you could look up to. And even if you lost 5-0 every week, I'd rather do that than have players that carry themselves the way Mason Greenwood carries himself. He's shown no remorse, or he hasn't said sorry for anything that's been done, anything that's happened. So for me, keep him as far away from Manchester United as possible. Keep him as far away from women as possible. Keep him as far away as possible.
One would guess he hasn't said sorry, because if he did, it'd automatically be in a situation where it'd 100% be prosecuted, because that's a admission of guilt.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you. He doesn't look like the most remorseful of people. Andy Wall, would you be happy with your season ticket helping to go towards paying the wages of Mr. Greenwood?
No, I don't know what I know we went out on them this season, but I just felt like we should have, put it to it, and he should have left the club permanently. But we'll see what happens in the summer. But he needs to. We all know what happened, and like I say, there's season ticket at all the women's games as well. I'm just like, it's not a good look for United. It's just like it should have been. You should have gone in like last summer. So, but I can't envision a world him being around United. Once he's back from his loan from Getafe. So hopefully, Sir Jim and the team, will make the decision really quick. That he's gone. So I just in the world, if he did come back, I don't know whether I said this on show or to other fellow fans. I'm just like, if he scored for us, I wouldn't be able to celebrate, or he scored a winning goal. It just wouldn't sit well with me, and I'm just like, I can't. Yeah, I can't see a world. I just question my loyalty to Manchester United. It really would, but hopefully the right thing will be done.
100%. And Danny Field, I mean, we've had this conversation quite a lot in terms of backstage and all that sort of thing, but I think the world would agree that had Mason Greenwood been available this season, that position that Anthony usually is in on the front of the right-hand side of the three, he would 100% have taken that position, filled it, done well, probably scored a hat full of goals. But just because you're a good player doesn't make you a good human being or a good role model. What would you do with him?
I'll put it in a different way. It's 3-3 against Liverpool at Old Trafford, and Mason Greenwood sprints the length of the field with Garnacho to swing the ball into the bottom corner. It would be absolutely tainted, and I wouldn't be able to celebrate it. I would genuinely not be able to, and it would be really disappointing that these people have come into this club, and if they overlook something like that, they're not the right owners for me straight away. I get that the criminals side of it, he was not charged. There was no court case. He's in a way got he's entitled to live his life. He's got a son or daughter, and he's out there with his girlfriend in Spain or what have you. It's just a no from me. There's no morality in football, which is an issue it's in itself. And these players still in the Premier League with certain allegations against them that play for teams that are top of the league, that have played for other teams. You've even seen other players that have basically caused murder and stuff like that with certain actions. So you've got to get to a point where, unless they can release some form of mitigating circumstance for what we all heard and we all saw, there's no coming back from it. So as a club, they need to make the decision. It's not worth it. I don't care about the ability of the player. You take the money and you send him off to Spain, where he seems very happy. And you know what? If he goes to Atletico Madrid, he goes to Barcelona, so be it. That's that. And that's the end of the chapter for him and Man United. That's just where I am with it from a personal aspect. I just wouldn't be able to enjoy these moments as much or at all if he was the one on the end of them. Because like I say, we all heard what we heard, and there is no denying what we heard, court case or no court case. So unless the club have some really damning evidence to suggest that it was all completely made up and it was all like out of context, I don't see how it would be, then the door's completely closed for me. And I would genuinely say I talk for a huge part of the fan base with that as well. You see a few people backing him, and I've got no qualms with that. If you're that forgiving, so be it. I'm just not that sort of person. I heard what I heard. I saw the facts, what I saw. That's enough for his United career for me.
Yeah, and with us not looking like we're getting Europe anytime soon, we're unlikely to have to play against him as well, which would be quite good. apart from the moral implications of us bringing him back, I'm not even sure how I feel about United profiting from selling him, to be honest with you. And that's another PR disaster waiting to happen, as you've just said underneath here. It's a complete PR disaster for Ineos. I'd be shocked if they kept him, disappointed beyond words. And again, if we do sell him, I can see there being a lot of clamour for that money to be put into domestic violence charities and things like that, which is a big thing. If you get a 60 million payoff for that player, do you give 60 million pounds? Do you just give some of it to the domestic? I mean, like, that in itself becomes a minefield to walk along. For me, yeah, I'd give it away with one of the world's richest clubs, but equally we've just sat here and said, we need a bit of money. And then you end up in a right old situation. So what a Branston, we would end up in there. It's a pickle if you're not sure. So there we go. Anyway, that's taken him off of the list, hopefully for good. Which is why we didn't bring this one up, Box. But yeah, Pelistri possibly keep strong dependency on the features of Greenwood, Sancho, Anthony, and Martial, not just Anthony Martial. You did mention about this, but I mean, we are on a time limit. We can't carry on talking about everybody. But as a quick answer, they're all under 23 players, so I would keep for another season and let them crack on because they seem to be doing quite well. Last thing, Danny Field. You start this. We can't be ending on the negativity of what we've just had. So, Danny B, would you ever have played Scholes in left winger? What in the name of all things holy were England doing when they decided to throw Scholes out to left midfield so they could fit in Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard, who, let's be honest, are not fit to lace Paul Scholes' boots?
It was a crime against humanity. I remember it, but I think it was very much a case of we had a manager who didn't know how to get the best out of the best players at the time, and he was just trying to fit them into the system that he wanted to play. And I do think that was probably as big a reason as anything else for why that generation never even got to a semi-final, never mind a final or anything like that. And yeah, I just think if we'd had Scholes in a midfield three back then, of maybe with Gerrard and somebody who could sit, then we might have been a lot more successful.
Very true. I mean, it's interesting because Box has put here Scholes 1, Carrick 2, Lampard 3, Gerrard 4 in that order. I just saw something on the internet with Roy Keane and Jamie Carragher where the question was asked, Danny Field, about Scholes or Gerrard as to who was the better player. Obviously, Jamie Carragher went for Steven Gerrard. Roy Keane went for Paul Scholes, but it was really interesting because he was like, well, I've got to be loyalty, haven't I? Got to have my loyalty to Scholes because I played with a guy. But Jamie Carragher is just like, yeah, but if you take Gerrard and you take him and you put him into any of the other teams, he'd do superb, wouldn't he? And I just think if you take Gerrard out and you stick him in Man United, it'd still have the same effect as Scholes. But if you take Scholes and put him into the Liverpool team, would Liverpool have been as good? And I don't think Scholes could have done that, is basically what Jamie Carragher said. Would you agree with that, Danfield?
No, it's absolute tosh. Like, to the highest level of bollocks I've ever heard in my life. Honestly, it's ridiculous.
Do you mean what I said or the fact I tried to do it in the accent? Or both?
No, what they said, what Jamie Carragher said. It's just utter horseshit. I hear it all the time. Or Gerrard scored a 90th winner against Olympiacos. Cool. And Scholes scored in the semi-final at Barcelona to get us to a Champions League final. Like, literally everything Gerrard did, Scholes did as well. In every single term. Last-minute winners, important goals, controlling games, but Scholes is much better at. I get it. I get why they have the argument. It's just absolute nonsense. Ferguson, for a reason, kept Scholes around for 15, 18 years and won 11 Premier League titles and 2 Champions Leagues. And the honours goes on for a reason, because he was literally the best to do it. And so many people go, oh, yeah, but you tried to sign Gerrard as well. Yeah, because you wouldn't take Gerrard, would you? Just like if you said to Liverpool, do you want Scholes? They'd go, nah, we've got Gerrard. No, they wouldn't. They'd say, yeah, come on, off you. Yeah, well, we'll pay for your bus ticket. Not a problem. No, it's just nonsense. The reason I started is because I know why you played on the left. Okay, I can answer this question now. So Sven, yesterday or today, managed an all-star Liverpool team because he's a lifelong Liverpool fan. So, of course, Scholes would go out to the left and not Gerrard because the England manager was a lifelong Liverpool fan. And that definitely has happened more over the years. And maybe we're not aware of certain managers prefer players, etc. Now, for me, Scholes, and not just Scholes, I've got to say this, the class of 92 in general really underrate themselves when they're on TV and when they're in these discussions. Like Gary Neville don't get rated. Dennis Irwin don't seem to get rated. Roy Keane's not rated. If you say to someone, well, Roy Keane was as good as any modern day midfielder you've got now. No, he wasn't. All he did was kick people. Absolute crap. You're talking rubbish. Like, this is when I started to realize I was getting old in the world of football because someone said to me the other day, Kylian Mbappe or Thierry Henry. And I was like, is that a serious question? Because there's only one answer, and it's not Kylian Mbappe. And they're like, are you mad? Have you? No, you obviously didn't watch Thierry Henry.
I thought I was going to be. Oh, I was transporting me back to that moment with Bainsy. I'm like, it's not going to say Mbappe, surely.
No,
surely, for God.
I think it's. You can tell when people haven't watched players. For me, Scholes was just absolutely phenomenal. There's no. It's just I get confused when people say he just couldn't do what Gerrard did. I just don't understand in what sense they mean. Do they mean last minute winners, long ranges, headers? I mean, did he not score against Man City in the very last kick of the game? Well, he scored a header to win us the game in a massive derby. He literally did everything that Gerrard did, but he didn't do it with a captain's armband on, so it wasn't. It means more to Liverpool. Sorry, is what I should say. It's just bull. It's nonsense.
Well, I mean, it's just one of those, isn't it? Where the team wasn't that good anyway, so they needed somebody to shine bright like a diamond. If Danny Drinkwater could lead Leicester to the title, why couldn't Stevie G? Well, Danny Drinkwater was from the Manchester United Academy, so that answers that question. Scholes, 10 feet of mud. Then you pick between Carrick and Lampard, very different players, and then Gerrard slips into forward position. Get it? Slips. Love
Brilliant.
that. Absolutely love it. Interesting to hear about Neville having done that to himself somewhat. He's belittled himself. Do you know what? I don't mind what Neville's done because could you imagine if he turned around and actually said, no, I was a better right back than you're giving me credit for? It'd be laughed out of the place. That people would turn on him big time. So I understand why he's done what he's done. And let's be honest, the only people's opinion he cares about are Man United fans. And the fact that we love him and think he's brilliant. Do you think he cares if Liverpool fans are sitting there thinking he's crap? Not a jot. Not a jot. So, this is a perfect example of fannery right there. And this is the thing. Scholes couldn't ping it out in the stands from 60 yards like Gerrard. Andrew Wall, I'm going to point, I know that NT's being sarcastic here. The story I remember most about Paul Scholes was when they were on the training ground. What they used to say about Paul Scholes is that people would go off to go and have a pee in the bushes. And Paul Scholes from 60 yards out would wait for him to get it out and have a wee, and then just ping the ball right at the back of their head. It's the equivalent of when you used to go into the chaps and you just give a little shoulder barge to your mates. They get it all down their trousers and like, oh, what are you doing? It was just like one of those. He was undeniably good, wasn't he, Paul Scholes? And 100% better than both Gerrard and Lampard. And never should have been put out onto the left-hand side, should he?
No, he should never have been for England. I say Scholes, he's one of United legends, and I just think, I don't know, say that for England, they didn't get the very best out of him and being in that position. I just don't know why, but just like for us, he was the box to box, midfield, and then later years like the quarterback role, pinging passes left, right, and centre. I think it's quote Andreas Iniesta said. He said his biggest regret in football was not playing with Paul Scholes, and saying, I think one day at the they called the La Massa, saying Rijkaard, the manager at the time, walked in and he said, today we're not going to train, we're going to watch a DVD, and for 3 hours they watched Paul Scholes highlights. And Iniesta said it was the best day of my life. He said in awe of him. So and Iniesta is a legend in himself as a player. I'm just thinking he's saying Scholes, I'd love to have played with him, in a side as well. So the only thing Paul Scholes didn't have ability was to make a tackle. Every time he just go flying in, and you just think he's going to get a red card here. But he had every other attribute except for tackling. He did go in a bit much, but everything else, he just
That
had
was
every
kind of
quality.
where I was going to go with it, though. You said that Scholes didn't quite have the best out of him for England, but again, this is because he was invariably always put alongside Gerrard or Lampard. And the problem with all three of those players was that they were all attack-minded players. So you didn't have that sit-in player, the Roy Keane, Vieira type that was around back then. And so as a result, it was just an absolute nightmare because they would always attack. You didn't have that defensive person. But that was equally the problem when you played Gerrard and Lampard and etc. etc. It was never a problem as to having the wing players. It was just the fact that England managers couldn't find a player like a Carrick who would have been able to sit there and just marshal the defence quite happily, ping the ball out and let people like Scholes, Gerrard, Lampard, whoever it might have been, do their business. But there we go. And as NT's literally just said it, in 4-4-2, it wouldn't have worked for those three players and a three in midfield either. But insisting at times with the 4-4-2 with those three, was just baffling. And that's because back then, 4-4-2 was pretty much all you had, really, wasn't it? So there we go. And the final question has to go to NT. He's been an absolute legend in the chat today. We were talking about Pickle, and then he's gone Piccadilly or Branston. He's more of a Branston kind of guy, but Piccadilly once in a while really hits the spot. Do you know, I'm with you exactly, because Piccadilly, you can have it every once in a while. You don't want it every week, but just ordinary pickle, you can quite happily have one of those once a week, no drama at all. So what's it for you, Danny B? Piccadilly or Branston?
I don't think I've ever tried Piccadilly before, to be honest.
You've never had Piccadilly?
I don't think so. I like Branston pickle.
Oh, Grant.
But I don't think I've ever tried it.
It's like pickle, only more mustardy.
Yeah, it's yellow, isn't it? Yeah.
It is yellow. Yeah, don't be put off by it. You need to go and buy some in your local Tesco /Lidl /Waitrose, wherever it is you go.
Will do.
Morrison's, whatever, or Co-op. There's plenty of places you can go. And yeah, you should get some Piccadilly. I can't wait for the review. Looking forward to it.
I'll review on the next show.
100%. Andy Wall?
Since I've tried both, but I prefer Branston.
Bit of Branston. That doesn't surprise me. That's a very Midlands sort of answer. I think the further north you go as well, sometimes that is the case because you like it in the ploughmans, don't you lot?
Yeah.
Yes, they do. See, look at that. Oh, the last time we had a smile like that was when he was talking about Bobby Mainoo. But there you go. And Danny Field, what say you?
Branston all day long.
All day long. Branston will accept any form of payment for your advertisement, whether that be a lifetime supply of pickle or whatever. Yeah, it'll be absolutely fine. We'll be all for that. Scholes, Carrick and Hargreaves won the league and Champions League double. They should have been England's midfield. All I'm going to say about that is United literally dominated that period of time. So it does seem like an absolute travesty that we had so few midfielders from the centre. There you go. Such is life. Gang, I've had an absolute ball. I can't believe it's been nearly 2 hours. But we really did take a weekend waffle and we bird's-eyed the hell out of that. So that was superb. Well done. Danny B, time for your... Honestly, the promotional aspects that we've got on this show, like, needs to be tweeted because that could be bird's-eye. That would stop my freezer for months. Danny B, time for your usual shout-out. Where can people find you and why should they bother?
They can find my podcast, Be the Best Version of Yourself, on Spotify and YouTube. It's all about my struggles with gambling addiction, mental health struggles, epilepsy that I suffer with as well. And we're just kind of getting the word out there, spreading the word, raising awareness. And yeah, the more people watching, the more people can get involved and we can all communicate and help each other. And that's what it's all about. And hopefully be sponsored by Piccadilly next week.
Absolutely. Can't wait. It'll be absolutely superb. And of course, other places you can find Danny B are on any reruns of EastEnders where you can see both of us just playing through while we kick people out of the Queen Vic with our dear mother Peggy. Andrew Wall, lovely to have seen you. Where can people find you should they be bothered? I mean, Andrew often for All for United sends through some lovely little pictures at half time so you can all wish you know, you were there. Andrew, where can people find you?
So you can find me on my handle there on, well, Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now. And then so I've got an Instagram as well. So where I post all my photos from the games I go to. So yeah, you can find me on there.
I'm going for it. Why not? All for United, sponsored by Branston. Just imagine it. Every time United scored, the defence was in a bit of a pickle. Oh, I can see it now. Oh, the money. Oh, blimey. And Connor would get it all. It's outrageous. And Danfield, where can people find you if they wanted to hear your inane mutterings and ramblings?
There, all there.
Basically what he's saying there is all for United. Obviously, he does some of the tweets that are on there. And the other one, of course, is his personal one that you could go to too. As for me, don't bother following me. I'm boring. But if you want to, it's there. You know, you're not blind. If you are blind, of course, it's at OT is my church. I would not want to be not inclusive. Anybody could be. I was going to say watching, but listening. There we go. That's the one we're after. So there we go. Listen, it's been really good. Nearly tied myself up in knots at the end there. So probably good time to go before I get into trouble. But it's been super.
The Branston deal gone?
It has. I've put myself in a bit of a pickle. Would you believe it? We'll just have to make do with bird's eye instead. There we go. But yes, it's been brilliant. You guys in the comments, as ever, have been absolutely superb. If you're watching this on catch up, which I think is still a thing, please like and subscribe. It is a wonderful thing when you do so. If you're already subscribed, like, and if you've already liked and subscribed, give yourself a pat on the back and have a wonderful sleep because you deserve it. Yeah, I think that's about it. When are we going to be back? We could be back next week. We will be back next week. So obviously there's matches next week. So something in the midweek, I'm sure. We didn't get around to doing it this week, but none of you have missed us. So it's not a problem. It's nice. Change is as good as a rest sometimes, isn't it? Which is exactly what Bruno Fernandes has got. And let's be honest, that's probably why we're going to win the league. Night all.